What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Fun with Friends podcast. I'm your host, Allie. Everyone has a list of things they've always wanted to do. For some, it's a bucket list, and for others, it's the things that they want to try, but they keep making excuses not to. Maybe it's because you don't have the time or the money, or because you just don't want to go alone. Or maybe you're like me and are just really good at making excuses and finding reasons not to put yourself out there. The Fun with Friends podcast is all about getting out there, exploring, trying new things, and chasing happiness. Join me, Allie, and my friends as we work through our list of things we've always wanted to try, and as we go on adventures and discuss the meaning of happiness and friendship. Who knows? Maybe we'll fall in love with an activity. Maybe we'll find something that brings us happiness, or maybe we find out that an aerial silks class just isn't for us. Come join the fun and hang out with my friends and me as we go on adventures and explore our city. What's up, everyone? It's your girl, Allie. Welcome to the Fun with Friends podcast. Joining me on today's episode is my friend Julie.
Hello.
On today's episode, we will be chatting about tattoos. Julie just spent the day with me as I got a new tattoo and got an old one touched up here in Old Town Alexandria, Virginia, at a new tattoo shop called Inq with a Q. But as you all know, before we jump into the experience, let's learn a little bit more about my guest. First off, Julie, what are we drinking today?
We are drinking some classy champagne all the way from the vineyards of Costco. It is a lovely variety, I think bottled earlier this week. So yeah, it's pretty effective and pretty tasty.
So Julie, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and a fun fact, anything.
Sure. So hello again, my name is Julie and I am originally from Southern California. I love to travel around. In fact, this is my 6th or 7th state that I've lived in. I tend to bumble around finding the coolest places to live, i.e. Kansas and Burlington, Vermont, and Pennsylvania and other places, and I just love it. I work with old buildings for a living, so usually that's what's driving me for where I'm headed. So I get to see some really cool old buildings, and that also drives my passion, which is travel in my free time. So I just got back from a trip to Belgium and France and England and Scotland. So I can't wait to plan the next place.
But when did you go on that trip?
That was March and April.
That's right.
Yeah, it was still nice and cool there. So still sweater weather, not like
looked like
here.
It was wonderful.
Yes.
And you went right before the Notre Dame, right?
Yeah, sadly, we were there a week and a half before it burned, and all of my friends that I went on the vacation with, they went to Notre Dame, and I went to the other church that's on that little island, Sainte Chapelle, because I had heard amazing things about it, and it wasn't as big of a tourist trap. And so I was like, you know what? Notre Dame has been there for so many years. It'll be there the next time I come to Paris. So I'm going to go to this other church instead. Oh. And 10 days later, the thing just burnt to the ground. And I was like, well, as a historic preservationist, I guess we can't make that assumption that just because it stood there for so long, it'll still be there next time.
Oh.
Whoopsies.
Yeah, and there's someone else we know that did a similar trip, and she was there, I think, the day before it happened. And so she was posting all these, and she was also a historic preservationist, and yeah, she literally went the day before it happened. So it was I guess good timing.
Yeah.
Before we get into the activity that Julie and I just did, we're gonna talk a little bit more about how Julie and I know each other. We've known each other for, I think, like 2 years.
2.5 years, yeah.
2 years. And of course we met through work, which, again, if you've listened to other episodes, you know that all of my friends are work friends, because making friends as an adult is difficult. You know, when you change jobs, those friends then become not work friends. So that's how friendship works when you're old. And Julie transferred from West Coast, and I think it took us a little while to like figure each other out and to start hanging out when you moved to the office. Like,
I wasn't sure if you liked me.
It's just my
you came in very like stern faced every day, and you came in with your headphones on, like just working hard. And I'm just like, okay, I'm steering clear of that girl because clearly she's got goals and things that she's doing today.
Absolutely not.
So so I didn't realize until later that you were just that you were listening to other podcasts and sweet music and just jamming and still working hard, but you clearly had some free time, to.
I'm a nice-ish person. It just takes. I think my very intense resting bitch face really kind of scares people away, and if you come to talk to me before like 10 a.m., then all bets are off. Like you're probably going to get full force, stern face in the morning, and I've got to have at least like 2 or 3 cups of coffee or tea before I come alive.
And even after we became friends and good friends, I would still walk up to you and tap you on your shoulder, and you would be actively listening to something, and you would give me this look like
the death stare.
I'll turn off what I'm listening to, but this better be worth it. Whatever you have to say.
It's got to be a good reason. Yeah. That's how you keep people from talking to you. It works quite well. And I think one of the things that recently really kind of solidified our friendship was our deployment to California. We were both in California for work, and we were there for 3 months, hanging out almost just the two of us, working 12-hour days, and then hanging out outside of work. And so it was a lot of together time, and I think we really got to kind of take our friendship to the next level during that time. And when I used to deploy, I would always have like 1 or 2 people that I use as kind of like my anchor to keep me sane. And Julie was, great for me, but unfortunate for her. She was definitely that person when we were in California, and she kind of helped me keep my shit together a little bit.
It was good. We definitely clung to one another because it was such an interesting work environment. So we had a couple of other people that we brought into the fold, but since you and I were staying at the same hotel complex, it was definitely like you and I at the core.
Yeah, knowing someone going into that type of situation is always great because you kind of have that foundation already built up and that support system. So it was Julie kept me afloat during that time, and our friendship overall I think is kind of pretty chill. We do a lot of we roam the streets of Old Town looking for shit to get into, kind of checking out all the food spots, drinks mostly. I mean, we like to do a good brunch and a drink and a drink and a drink, and before you know it, it's dinner. So it's always a good time. But I think we've done a few concerts together, and I'm trying to think of other activities that we kind of do every now and then.
Definitely. I mean, we definitely talk about lots of adventures, which again, like me loving to travel, I still like to talk. Even just the planning of talking about adventures and trips and different things like is still so much fun. But I think one of the most impressive things that you and I have done really on my end, like the act itself wasn't impressive, but you and I went to a Florence and the Machine concert together.
Yes.
And we were with a couple of other friends and we were having a good time, but suddenly I got a panic attack. Like I just wasn't having it, like being in sort of like the mosh pit area. And so I started crying and I had to move to like the side of the core audience, like way kind of back, and like, we weren't as close to the stage. And you were very sweet, and you came and you stood with me like the whole concert, and we still had like a great time. But like
no man left behind.
You were such an amazing friend to kind of leave the very, very dream seat section and come and stand at the fringe with me. So that was really cool.
I honestly think we had maybe a more interesting experience in the back. We did see someone pee on the floor.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, like this tiny woman just
squatted
with like huge heels on and a tiny dress, just squatted right next to us and just peed on the floor.
It was clearly not her first time doing it. She had
she knew
skill.
what she was doing. But also, Florence and the Machines really isn't that type of concert.
No, it really wasn't.
I didn't quite, and the bathrooms were like 5 steps away from us.
Right, that's what I didn't understand. But all right,
I guess
she had a vision, so she was gonna fulfill it.
And then we had like a little tiny mosh pit of really, really drunk ladies in front of us that were kind of like mini. They almost looked like Snooki from Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
Just tiny, very drunk. And I was totally like full mom mode. Like they were jumping around and I'd put my arms out because I was afraid they were so off balance that they were just going to tumble backwards into everybody, and I was worried for them. So I just was kind of like holding my arms out, trying to like keep these people on their feet because they were so, for everyone listening, I just got attacked by Julie's cat, Clementine, which I've mentioned her on a previous episode as being the devil, and this, I feel, proves that point. So,
yep.
She does not like me. She's just like out to get me. But yeah, Florence and the Machines was a good time. And Julie's given me pointers for my Scotland trip next month, and because she's traveled a lot, so it's always nice to have a friend who's gone and traveled to where you're going. Which brings me to the next topic I wanted to cover, which you've already kind of touched on, which is that you take a lot of like really awesome, fantastic trips. You've, like you said, you've been to Scotland, you've gone to London, you've been to Paris, like kind of all over, and I've never been outside of the United States, which is going to change in
how many days?
27 days now.
All right.
I find everything involved with travel in general kind of like annoying. I'm one of those people, it's because I'm just very impatient. I don't like the part leading up to it. I just want to be there so I can get there and enjoy whatever I'm doing in that area. But you've done, well, I guess what's your favorite place that you've gone to?
So certainly I keep coming back around to the United Kingdom. There's something about just being there. And I've been in big places like London and Glasgow that are just big and city-like, and I've been to small places that are equally amazing. And there's something about the people, the culture, certainly the climate plays a factor. I'm like a big sweater weather kind of gal. So I love the amount of wool that I can pull off when I'm there.
Is always better.
Yes, like I think I really would enjoy going to like the Orkney Islands, like as far north as you can possibly get in the UK, and just I mean, and I don't know if we can like bring in heritage, but I'm largely English and Scottish and a little bit German, so maybe it's just my people calling me home, which sounds incredibly cheesy.
That's why I'm going to Scotland. That's where my people are going.
Yeah, so. But so I just and my first trip there, I went with my friend Liana, and we just had a ball, and so just every other trip has followed suit. And really, I mean, I have to give props here to my friend Liana, because she kind of has given me like the baby steps of how to travel for free using points and miles. And so a lot of these trips I've been able to take because I get to travel for work, and so I'm able to bank a lot of like the points and miles and then get to use them in my free time. So it's just been a remarkable experience. So I love everything to do with travel. I even, unlike you, I love the lead up to the travel. I love planning.
You're very organized. Like I've seen your spreadsheets, and it's like some Rain Man shit. Like you go
really
hardcore in like scheduling. You have tabs for like all the places you're going.
I even in 2017, three friends of mine headed to England, and we were all over England. And so I put on the spreadsheet where we were going to be each day, and then I put the city flag of that particular city as like the row one, and just because I could, it really didn't mean anything. And even the spreadsheet,
it was beautiful.
and that was the thing. Like I'm not one of those people that's that builds the spreadsheet so that like at 10 a.m. I'm here, and at 11:30 we go to this museum, and at 12:30 we go to this restaurant. It's more just like a guideline, so you can just decide at any one point, if we're bored, like we can refer back to the spreadsheet, like, okay, in this city there are these things to do or see. But otherwise, I do enjoy sort of like the serendipitous, like, we found ourselves here, and we didn't realize that we were going to do that. So that was really kind of fun. So,
and we have another person in the room with us, which is a mutual friend, and you two have actually traveled together before. Like, was that on the most recent trip through Europe? Is that right?
Yeah. So Bubbles McClure and I went with a couple of our other friends to England and Belgium and France together, and that was a follow-up trip actually to the 2017 trip, where we met up with our friends who actually live in England and were able to get us on base to the place where D-Day was planned.
Oh, wow.
And so it was absolutely this amazing country house, this manor, and one of the sitting rooms has been turned into the map room. And the map is still up and just sort of like going over how we were going to invade and, you know, where the English were going to invade and, you know, the Canadians and the Americans. And it was just this amazing thing. So after seeing the map, we went to this pub where Eisenhower and Churchill drank a lot. And from sitting there, we kind of plotted this trip of like, okay, we've seen the map now. Wouldn't it be great to actually go to France and see it in person? And so that became the basis of our trip this year. And apparently we're all terrible at math because we all kind of forgot that 2019 was the 75th anniversary of D-Day. So we were there in March. It's not like there was anything special going on. But then when June came around and the whole world is talking about the 75th anniversary, I was like, we were just there. How cool is that? We got to walk the beaches, and our friend that really kind of was driving us around, he is as big of a history nerd as us professional historians. And so he's also in the military as well. So he was really able to give us like the military background and the engineering background, like things that you wouldn't have really considered. Like they had to engineer a pier, you know, for all of these ships. You know, the bigger ships, once the landing was successful, these bigger ships were coming to bring supplies, so they needed a pier. And so there are still evidence of these floating piers out in the sea, and that is amazing.
That's how it sounds like you had like the perfect group of people to really get like an insider
really was.
look.
My grandfather was part of it.
Oh wow.
So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's a really neat trip. Yeah.
Which was all the more
special. Yeah. And it sounds like it was almost perfectly accidentally planned ahead of the masses of the 75th.
Considering I invited myself.
Yeah. I mean, we really, again, like, you know, but the group of friends evolved. You know, it was supposed to be this core group of 4 people, and Bubbles was an add-on. But what was so absolutely amazing is that Bubbles and our friend who now lives in England, they're pretty much carbon copies of one another.
I'm taller.
You really instantly,
yeah,
like,
and just like
taller.
from like the concerts that they have been to their childhood celebrity crushes, like everything was just sort of like, okay, this is a little creepy because they grew up like on opposite coasts as well. So it was just fantastic.
Doppelgangers of each other.
Little bit, yeah.
Would you say you prefer traveling in groups rather than traveling solo?
So this was actually, the start of this particular trip, I went to Scotland alone for the first 3.5 days, and that was the first time really traveling solo out of the country, and it was both illuminating and fun. There were parts of it where I was like, I wish I had somebody to talk to, and I kept trying to like do the American thing of just like, well, go to the pub and sit at the bar. And, like,
make friends.
The bartender will talk to you, the other patrons will talk to you, but in most British pubs, you know, Scotland of course included here, that I have frequented, you don't sit at the bar. You go up, you walk up to the bar and you get your drink, and you can stand there if you want. Yeah. But you usually like take your drink and you go sit down someplace else. So it doesn't, I at least have not figured out how to foster that sort of, you know, I'm just going to go and see who I can talk to kind of vibe. So
that's definitely something I'm going to encounter. Although I am going with a tour group, which I feel, you know, I can always hopefully make friends on the group and hang out with people. But I do think I'll have a lot of time to kind of roam on my like solo.
Well, but just from my observations of you, you are certainly somebody that has an easier time just walking up to somebody and be like, "Hi, my name is Allie.
After
do you
a few
want to
drinks,
be my
maybe."
friend?" Yeah, I mean, like
I need a little liquid courage every now and then.
You know, whatever you need to do. I certainly, even after 7 drinks, I'm like, no, that seems like a lot to like walk up to somebody. So
I definitely get bolder the more drinks I have.
Yeah.
If you're like me and you're just getting started with podcasting, it can be scary and overwhelming. That's why Anchor is such a great choice. It's one of the easiest ways to make a podcast, and best of all, it's free. It also has great creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Another great feature of Anchor is that they'll distribute your podcast for you. Your listeners will be able to access your podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many others. You can also make money from your podcast using Anchor, and that's with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place, and it's easy to use. Download the free Anchor app or go to inq'd.fm to get started today. Okay, so moving on to our actual adventure that we had this weekend.
Yay!
So I guess not we, but I got a tattoo today actually. And I also got one of my older tattoos kind of touched up real quick at the end there, which was kind of a little added extra bonus, which was pretty awesome. But we went to, Julie was a trooper because she had to sit through 2.5 hours of just watching me get a tattoo, which I feel like that could be kind of boring, but luckily we had like the tattoo artist was really we had good conversation, and there were other tattoo artists that we were talking to, and so hopefully it wasn't too painful to just sit there for
I had a
2.5
good time.
hours.
I really had a good time. I think I had the best time mainly because I wasn't in the chair of pain.
Yes.
But even the tattoo artist Cameron did an amazing job, because your face really only registered a flicker of pain a couple of times throughout the process. So Cameron, was quite good, I thought, in terms of his very gentle touch.
Yes,
so.
he not only is it, I think, the best tattoo that I have on my body, but I think it was actually probably the least painful one that I've ever gotten. Before we jump into the tattooing part, I wanted to provide a little bit of information about the place that we went. It's a new tattoo spa is what they're calling it, called Inq Tattoos, and that's Inq Tattoos. And they're located on King Street in Alexandria, Virginia. It's actually, the location is 1011 King Street. And I'll include a link to their website and their social media, and I'll also include a link to the tattoo artist Cameron, to his Instagram, so you can check his work out down in the description of the episode. And there was also an article on the tattoo shop in the Alexandria Times and in one of the other local newspapers. So I'll find both of those articles and provide those links as well below. So Inq it's not your typical tattoo parlor. The whole idea behind it is to provide a different type of vibe or experience to folks that are looking to get tattoos but maybe haven't gotten them before, because the traditional type of tattoo shop or parlor might be a little intimidating or a little scary. So they're providing, again, like a spa-like experience. So everything is very bright, and they have, herbal teas and water, and it's a much brighter experience overall, I think, than, again, that kind of traditional tattoo experience. And yeah, I highly recommend, checking out the Alexandria Times article if you're looking for, just to understand the whole concept behind this new type of tattoo parlor experience, if you're interested in learning more. And the other cool thing that they offer is, if you're thinking about getting a tattoo or just kind of want to check the place out, you can go in and get a temporary tattoo, which it's like henna, except they don't use red ink. They only use black, and you can't get color, of course, but you can kind of go in, get a temporary tattoo, try out, a design or placement, and I think that lasts for about 2 weeks, and it's kind of a really cool option to just, again, test out a design, see if you like it. That's what I did. I went in about 3 weeks ago and got a temporary tattoo, and kind of decided on the spot that was what I wanted, and that I liked it, and I liked the size and the placement, and went ahead and booked to get the actual tattoo done, all in that one setting. So it's a really kind of a cool idea, and this is actually the first tattoo that I've ever had an appointment for, because all of my other ones have been spontaneous, kind of just wandering into local shops and kind of telling them what I wanted. So
and hoping for the best.
Hoping for the best. So so all the social media and information will be in the episode description. So Julie, do you have any tattoos?
I do. I only have one at the moment, and like you, it was It was not a spur of the moment decision. I had actually known since I was about 10 what kind of tattoo I wanted. So I have a Gerber daisy on my ankle, and I got that because it's part of my last name. And well, it wasn't a spur of the moment.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and it's, depending on who you talk to, officially it's the Gerbera daisy, but most folks just kind of chop off that last A. I don't know why, but that's fine.
Oh, I didn't know that's why you got it.
Yeah.
Oh,
unfortunately, I got that in the summer of 2002. And
so long ago.
So long ago.
Tramp stamp.
I mean, yeah, it is not a tramp
just a giant
stamp.
daisy across your lower back.
Yeah, right. Oof. No, it is. It's small. It's like the size of a $50, and it's on the outside of my ankle. Unfortunately, as I have since learned since it aged, is that the guy who did the line work and the coloring, I thought he did an amazing job, but now I understand as the line work sort of ages and it spreads a little, he really should have done like a third less of the petals. Like he gave me an accurate representation.
A lot in there.
It's a lot, and for that size, like it just didn't work out so well at the time. It looked great, fast forward. Wow, almost 20 years, guys. It looks a little sad. And so last year I had the color touched up.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, a good friend of mine.
I was gonna say, did you go here in town or did you go somewhere else?
It was here in Virginia, maybe like 30 minutes south of here. Yeah. A friend of mine found a good parlor that did color work. I'm a little internet challenged. I'm a bit of a Luddite, so I completely trusted my friend Heather when she's like, "Oh, this guy is really, really good at color." So we just waltzed on into his shop, and he did he freshened up the color as best he could. I was kind of hoping, because you've seen like touched up tattoos where they come back to life, and so I was really hoping that he could turn this sad little $50 size wheel back into a flower, and he's just like, the line work is spread, the best that we can do is add color to it. And so now it looks a little bit better, but it's still it's not the best
it's
work.
Just so small, like I feel like it's hard to.
But I will also say, back in
so
2002, I was really young, so I didn't know that you should be like looking at different shops in terms of understanding who to go to, as well as the internet. While it was completely around in 2002, it's not like we had Instagram where you're following specific artists and you can really see their book, to get a sense of who they are as an artist. I will say the guy who did my tattoo was the sweetest person I might have ever have met, because he was so patient with me. Now, again, I'm older and I understand that these guys are working by the hour, and this tattoo really should not have taken very long, but it took probably an hour and a half or so, because he kept stopping because he understood that I was in pain, and he was feeding me ice chips, and he got me ginger ale and like a moist towel for my head.
It's like I've never had this experience ever.
He was the sweetest guy, and he kept saying, he's like, I have teenagers at home, so I understand, and he was just the sweetest guy, as well as something that I still to this day appreciate. He's just like, look, this is your first tattoo, so I'm gonna go through this so you understand when you get tattoos in the future. So he was just like, make sure you watch the tattoo artist open up the needles so that you know that they're fresh.
He
make
walked you through the whole process.
That they're wearing gloves, like all of these things that he's just like, so that you don't go to like a shady place in the future. So
that's nice.
It was very, very cool. So while it was a completely random walk-in, like I had a day off from work in 2002, we didn't know who we were going to. Even though the line work didn't turn out exactly as I hoped, I still feel like the experience as a whole was still incredibly positive.
A very positive one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about, so when you go in to get like a temporary tattoo, they actually walk you through as if you were getting a real one. So they clean the area and they go like, this is what would be happening if you were getting an actual tattoo today. And so they're like, we're gonna clean the area, it's not a gun, they use like little squeeze bottles with the ink in it or whatever, but they walk you through it as if it were a real one, which I really appreciated, because I did not have the same experience when I got my first tattoo. Like, I lived out in the middle of like bumfuck nowhere, Nebraska, and the closest tattoo place was like 3.5, 4 hours away, and I was set on getting a tattoo. I was going to get one, so I drove 3.5, 4 hours with a friend because she had gotten one from this place, so it was the only place I knew, and this was back in 2005-ish. 2005. And so I rolled up in there, and was immediately like, whoa, these peeps be high. Like, they were like selling like bongs on the top floor and tattoos on the bottom. And I was like, cool, tight, let's do this. And so, you know, red flags everywhere. And I ignored them because I just wanted a tattoo, like really badly. And I ended up with a nautical star with wings, which it's in between my shoulder blades, so I don't look at it too much. And I think I'm trying to remember the colors. It's blue and pink. I think everything's blue with like a pink outline, or the star is blue and the wings are pink.
Yeah, the star is blue.
I don't look at this tattoo very much.
The wings are sort of pinkish, but the cool part is, and it still remained, is that sort of like the ethereal cloud behind the star.
The pink.
Is sort of this like pinkish haze.
Yeah,
which I gotta be honest has stayed, and it still looks pretty. That's probably, in my opinion, in terms of the color work, the best part of this whole entire tattoo.
The funny part was, though, when I got the pink haze, I guess, around the entire thing, everyone would come up to me and ask me if it was infected because it looked red. And I was like, no, it's a pink haze. Don't worry about it. It's fine. But you know, it's no longer an actual star. I'm missing a point. I only have 4 points on it now because I had to get a gnarly a bad mole removed, and so they've taken a point off of my star.
Well, and it comes full circle because right after you got the skin surgery, you know, just done to remove the mole and one of the points, you dragged me into the bathroom at this restaurant because you're just like, I can't see it, so you're gonna have to photograph this and tell me if it looks okay.
I thought it might have been infected. Maybe.
Yeah, because of the pink haze, and so you needed somebody else to look at it. And we're like, no, it's just the pink haze. It's fine.
That pink haze, man, keeps coming back. That was my very first tattoo, and it was, you know, should not have gotten it, at least not at that place, because, you know, it was like an old, you know, like one of those wire restaurant chairs. I like straddled that. You're like facing, you know, like leaning over the back so they could tattoo my back, and I was like, is this what tattooing is like? Because I didn't have any point of reference, and, you know, I think all things considered, it came out okay. And I slowly developed a meaning to that tattoo as the years have passed, because people would ask me why I got it. And I'm like, well, it's a nautical star, which is a symbol of direction. And the wings symbolized freedom. So it means freedom of direction to make whatever choices in life that I so choose. So that's
okay, then.
The meaning I've come up with to that tattoo. But I have a tendency to kind of get tattoos for people and places where I've been. And so I kind of think of that one as like that initial kind of like pushing off point into adulthood, you know, making the first of many poor life choices as an adult. So it's real special to me. So I have, I guess, now 5 tattoos. So that was the first one. And the second one I got was for my dad. So I have his initials as well as his birth and the day that he died tattooed on my left wrist. And that's a super tiny tattoo. And my older sister and I we drove the extra like 2 to 3 hours to go to a different tattoo place.
Smart.
Yeah, and I think we both had kind of in mind what we wanted, but that's usually how I roll with tattoos. I think about them for a long time, and then one day I'll pass a tattoo place and I'll be like, you know what, today's the day. And I'll just walk in there, tell them what I want, and see how it turns out. This one actually, you know, I guess it's like 12 years old now, so it's, you know, it's just a black, nice kind of like cursive script with his initials and tiny, tiny letters. And I'm sure letters will need to be, or the dates will need to be redone eventually as they kind of like get older. But the other one I have is a petroglyph of a sea turtle on my right ribs, very tiny, like 50-cent piece size. And that one was I did my archaeology field school in Hawaii on the island of Kauai, and it was life-changing. It was the first time I'd ever traveled anywhere outside of like Iowa, Nebraska general area, and the vibe in Hawaii was like so different than anything I'd ever experienced. It really just kind of like opened my eyes to what the world was like outside of the Midwest. And so I got my little sea turtle petroglyph, and I like to think of him as my like little spirit animal. I love my sea turtle.
Nice.
And it's a really good thick black line, just beautiful tattoo. And I got that back in 2008 maybe. And it still looks fucking great. Like it was one, and that was one I walked like 3 miles because we didn't have vehicles to get that tattoo. Got lost out like on the island of Kauai, and just wandered into this tattoo shop and was like, yeah, man, I want a petroglyph of a turtle. Let's do this. And it came out fantastic. The tattoo I got touched up today is on my right forearm, and it is kind of my own interpretation of a woodblock print by a Japanese artist. I'm going to say it wrong. Hukosai.
Yeah.
So he did the wave or the Great Wave. It's known as different things, and has so many other like beautiful, just absolutely gorgeous woodblock prints. And his work has been kind of a common theme throughout my life, especially starting in college, where I took a geology class, and the teacher was explaining how geology can be found throughout history, especially in artwork, and used the print of the Great Wave to show that, because it's a tsunami following an eruption of Mount Fuji. And so I have that print hanging in my home. Like, I just absolutely love it. And I was also working in Washington State at the time, and there's like a pretty prevalent Japanese culture in Washington State, and so I was just kind of feeling all the Japanese vibes while I was out there, and decided, I just wandered again into this random tattoo shop and was like, today's the day, and got a tattoo. And I also, like, I don't know, Washington was a good time for kind of like finding out who I was. I got my lip pierced after always having wanted it. I cut all of my hair off. I started getting more tattoos. Like, it was my first real experience outside of college as like a working adult. And yeah, I was just kind of like figuring out who I was and who I wanted to be, and just like went full force with all the change in like 2 years. And this tattoo was kind of part of that. So with my the tattoo that I just got today, my 5th tattoo, is I got a tattoo of a narwhal, which, if folks don't know what a narwhal is, it's I like to refer to it as the unicorn of the sea. It is a whale with a giant horn coming out the front, which is actually like a tooth. And they're typically, I think, up in the Arctic. For as much as I love narwhals, I really don't know a whole hell of a lot about them. I think only the males have the horns, but don't quote me on that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we should probably Google that. But I will say, you know more about them than I do. So
I was gonna say, I'm gonna share the morbid fun fact, which is one of the reasons why I love narwhals. So the tattoo, it's not like a realistic rendition, I guess, of a narwhal. It's a little cartoonish. And it's on the opposite forearm as my wave tattoo, and has kind of the same style like Japanese waves, so they match a little, and they're both circular, and so they kind of complement each other quite well, I think. And of course I'll share photos of these. I'm like a little obsessed with narwhals, and I don't know when or why or how it happened, but I was looking at just the shit I have in my life. And I've got, like a feel-good narwhal keychain and some narwhal like enamel pins. And Julie she brought me some wonderful little like socks with narwhals on them for my tattoo, which was amazing.
It's a sock. They're little, just tiny socks, and it's the narwhal spearing 3 donuts.
Donuts, man.
Because you can.
My favorite thing, narwhals and donuts.
Why not?
Shit.
Why not?
And you also got me, when we were in California, I had gone on a rotation, I think, and I came back and you got me a welcome back card with narwhal on it.
Did. I do remember that, yep.
I still have that because I fucking love narwhals. And I think for me it's because I was really obsessed with unicorns when I was younger. Like, I had, like, everything was unicorns for me. And so I think, to me, narwhals are kind of like real life unicorns in a way, because they are very like magical and mythical, and not a lot of people know about them.
I really thought that they were made up.
Yeah.
Until you showed me the actual video. Because until you showed me the actual video, I'd only seen them as cartoon renditions, like line work, CGI kind of stuff. And then here they are. It's like a beluga whale with like a unicorn sort of horn fused on it. And you're just like, oh, that's a real thing.
It's wonderful. And
nature is weird.
Oh, wait, aren't unicorns like the something of Scotland?
Yes. So it's the symbol of Scotland. And then Wales is also a mythical creature. They have the dragon. So you gotta love a series of countries where we just make up things.
I feel like
for
I'm
our
just
flags.
meshing all of my loves into like one creature, and it's the fucking narwhal.
I'm telling you, it's great. It's great times.
So I also like kind of morbid things. You know, I don't want to say I like murder, but I'm intrigued by very morbid kind of fun facts. And the thing that I found about narwhals that was just kind of like the cherry on top is that the name is derived from an Old Norse word meaning nar, which means corpse. So it's in reference to the animal's grayish mottled pigmentation, which is kind of like a gray blue modeling, and it looks like a drowned sailor. And in the summertime, narwhals typically like lay still at or near the surface of the sea, and that's called logging. So, you know, they would pass these narwhals and they looked like dead bodies just floating in the sea. So that's where they got their name from, or at least that part of their name. And I love that. Like, I'm 110% on board with that creepy, morbid, fun fact about narwhals. And so yeah, now I have one on my body, and I'm pretty pumped about it. It came out like absolutely like fucking beautiful, very bright blues. Like I think he used 3 or 4 different shades of blues and teals, and it just pops. And yeah, Cameron did an awesome job. And again, I'll post pictures of the tattoo so y'all can see it. And yeah, so that's a rundown of all of my tattoos, including the new one. And Julie, are you on the market for a new tattoo?
Yes. I have been thinking for the last 5 or so years now about getting a tattoo of the state flower of every place that I have lived. So far it's California, which is the poppy, Vermont, which is the red clover, Kansas, which is the sunflower, Pennsylvania, which is the mountain laurel.
We're fighting. If you hear giggling or like something that sounds like a spray bottle in the background, we're currently fighting off the demon cat that is Clementine as she attacks us.
I just adopted this cat like 4 months ago, and she is full of personality, but she is. Yeah,
She's a jerk.
She likes to bite people. Anyway, so Pennsylvania, we have the mountain laurel. Jersey, we have the violet. New York, we have the rose. Washington State, we have the rhododendron. And here in Virginia, of course, we have the dogwood. So I'm thinking about sort of like a wreath kind of design. The only thing that I've officially decided on is that I want it in like an Art Nouveau kind of style. And hopefully this is my permanent home, fingers and toesies crossed. But I do want the tattoo to be able to evolve in case I do continue to move.
Have some empty spots on there.
Little bit.
Just a few.
Something.
Yeah. And Julie is like a lover of wreaths. You make wreaths.
I do.
Like you make really cool like paper ones, which is
absolutely
like blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because you do all kinds of like crazy shit.
Well, I mean,
paper.
you've got to put the art degree to use, you know, when you sit in front of a computer. So I evolved from being an art degree holder to being a historian holder. So that
just
creative,
the two now.
Yeah, the creative vibe just doesn't get to come out as much at work. So I have to do that kind of stuff at home
Find
and
that
for
outlet.
friends, and yeah.
No, you do like really cool.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
I don't know what it's called, but the like pinwheels and things.
So that
you
is
do.
quilling. That is
Quilling.
paperwork. Yeah. So that is quilling.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
So
Begging.
So Julie's taking up pegging.
Not pegging, people. It's not pegging, I promise. That's
quilling.
a totally different genre. There's a separate podcast devoted to that.
Nothing to do with paper.
That's right. That's right.
There is an art to it.
It is definitely an art.
It is an art form.
But yeah, no, that's a completely different thing.
That's your next podcast.
Welcome to Allie and Julie's and Bubbles conversation about pegging. Today we'll be discussing form. So this is a part of the podcast where we give our verdict about our overall experience and kind of give our feedback on what we thought about the activity that we just did. Overall, what did you think of the Inq Tattoo parlor, like the vibe and the process and kind of that overall experience there?
I really liked it. Now, it is definitely a place for folks that have been afraid to go into the traditional parlor. This is very welcoming. It's very clean. Like, it really does look like a day spa, and it is gorgeous. Clearly, though, I didn't have any problems walking into a tattoo parlor before, and neither did you. Obviously not. But I do feel like for those that have been a little skeptical or think that it's somehow unclean, which of course cannot be farther from the truth, because these artists truly are artists, and they're here on this earth really to make people look beautiful. And that's any artist that I've ever talked to, like, they may look a little sketchy, but in truth they really just want to provide the best
they just want to share their
outcome and beautiful artwork with their clients. So but I will say that Inq Tattoo was it was so pretty and so welcoming, and just being able to sit with you and just, you know, Cameron did an amazing job. He had some comment throughout in the middle of the 2.5 hours that we were there, that he usually isn't a chatty guy, but I actually found him to be incredibly conversational.
Yeah, I was gonna say he kept up the conversation well. There were a few like lulls, but it's 2.5 hours.
Yeah, no, but I thought he did an amazing job, and certainly if you're somebody that's a little bit nervous about it, both the atmosphere and the artists there, I think, could help put you at ease.
Very welcoming.
Because even there was a second tattoo artist that kept kind of coming in and adding to the conversation and viewing the work and really just admiring the whole process. Yeah. Nick was his name, and he too just was a beautiful personality, and just, again, like, it was, I mean, had you not being stabbed with needles for 2.5 hours, we could have just been like 4 people out enjoying a beer.
Yeah, just hanging out. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with everything you just said. Like, it, compared to other tattoo experiences I've had, I think this is the most comfortable, just personally, I've ever been going into a tattoo parlor, because I always felt like I was a little out of place and didn't quite fit in, and I felt definitely just more comfortable in that space than I have before. And Cameron had a very light touch. The tattoo, I mean, obviously tattoos hurt, right? But this one was not near as, I haven't had a tattoo in like 8 years, so I was a little nervous going in, but his line work, which is just absolutely beautiful, super smooth, did not even feel it. And there were parts of like adding the color in that I didn't feel at all, but, you know, like towards the end, as it always is with tattoos, you get a little like sore just because you're having needles stuck into your skin over and over and over again in the same spot. But overall, like, the pain level was like minimal, and yeah, just the vibe. It's super chill. Like, the building is actually very beautiful. They have this huge like skylight, so it's all natural light. It's like a cool spot. And it's a good vibe, and the folks that work there are awesome. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of, so would you get a tattoo there?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm still in the design phase with mine, and I think still in the saving up money for it, because it is going to be not a small thing, but a big thing, and I want it on my thigh, which there's plenty of real estate there. So I'm gonna have to save up for that a little bit, but I'm super excited, and based on, again, the line work, because I really do like the fine line work, and really for the color to show through, and I think it is my favorite thing about your new tattoo, is just how beautiful the line work truly is,
and the color just like pops so well. Like, it's
absolutely. Well, and I'm excited to see it as it continues to heal. Like, obviously you just got this like 4 hours ago. Yeah. So she's still fresh. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So of course it's gonna have to heal. So I can't wait to see it like a month from now, see how gorgeous it really looks.
Yeah, and even the tattoo that he touched up, like, he just dropped some color in there like super fast, and it looked, I'd say, like 10 times better than what it looked like before. And yeah, I would definitely get another I mean, I probably will be getting another tattoo there. It's just a matter of when and how long I force myself to wait before doing that. And yeah, so do you think you would recommend the place to someone else?
Absolutely. And even if you're not really close in geography to this place, like, we're really close to National Airport, so you can always fly in. That's getting more and more popular if you fall in love with a particular artist. But I've had friends that have flown, all the way to the West Coast to get a tattoo. And even that is just amazing. So I absolutely love now with Instagram and all the other
kind of creep on folks before you decide if they're right for you or
yeah,
not.
and really just again, like this is something that 20 years ago I never really thought was a thing. I thought you just like walked in and every artist was the same as every other artist. And of course, now I'm a little older. Now I understand that's not at all the case. So it's really kind of cool that you get to see all these people that are in your state, in your nation, internationally even.
Yeah, and just the, I like to say creep, but just to like take in their artwork.
Absolutely.
Like that's a huge plus for me. Like I follow a lot of tattoo artists on Instagram just because I love looking at their artwork, whether it's a tattoo or in some other type of media. And like, yeah, just following these folks, looking at what they're working on. And that's something that Cameron does. He does, I think, murals and like paintings and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's just cool to kind of see like everything that they're working on and what they're fully capable of. And I'm hoping to kind of like bring some of you to the dark side and get you to get tattoos at Inq. Because I think it's a super cool place. So verdict, I think, is like 10 for 10. Would do again. Highly recommend. Go get yourself a tattoo. Yeah. And like go to Inq because it's a pretty cool place. Yep. Or if anything else, right? Stop in there and get a temporary tattoo. Yeah. Just to check it out and see what's up. Before we wrap up, I like to ask my guests 2 final questions, which one of those questions is actually like 3 questions wrapped into one.
Oh, God, so, it's like an interview question.
You know.
I'm like applying for a job here.
Do you want to be my assistant?
There you go. I mean,
do you want to be my editor or
if you
producer,
pay as well as what I'm getting now, I mean, absolutely.
Not anywhere close. Will you work for champagne?
Maybe, but I do drink a lot of champagne.
I know. How many bottles will this cost me? But so the first question is, what is one thing that you've always wanted to do? So like a bucket list item. So this kind of goes back to the beginning. Like if you had like less than a week to live, like what would you do? Or what is an activity that you've always wanted to try or do and just haven't yet? And why do you think that you haven't done it?
So this is going to make me sound like the most basic person around, but I have always wanted to try skydiving. And
it's on my list.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe
I want to start with
a future podcast.
I want to start with indoor skydiving first, though, and then maybe graduate up to actual.
Correct.
Bubbles, have you ever skydived?
No. All right. Well,
because we're all smart and we value our lives.
Well, so that's
gravity always wins.
Truth.
Yeah. So gravity does win, but I do enjoy the while you're falling. Like you could have that complete just weightless. But anyway, no, I think the thing that's been holding me back is that I do want like a friend to do it with me. So while I'm up in the plane, like freaking out, like I can like lock eyes with somebody that knows me down on firm ground.
Both equally shitting yourselves at the same time.
Correct. And just zero judgment as I scream like a 12-year-old girl.
Maybe you'll get strapped to a hot guy.
Maybe. I mean, a girl can.
Those tandem jumps, baby.
Yeah.
No, I am amazed by people who can just be like, yeah, I'm going to go skydiving. And then they go and do it. And it blows my mind. Like when I was in field school in Hawaii, there was a group of people and they were like,
it's Saturday, we're going to go.
We just want to go skydiving over Hawaii. And I was like, we will die. But go for it. And they did. And they had an amazing time. And I was like, I should have just gone. Like I should have just done it. And that's kind of the whole point of the podcast, right? Is like all these things that I just should have done or want to do that I haven't because I've been making excuses for myself. So this is indoor skydiving, and skydiving is on the list. We could get a group.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the second question, because this podcast is not only about doing things that you have always wanted to do, but it's also about friendship and hanging out with your friends and doing shit together and having a good time. So the second question is, what do you think is the key to a good friendship and also maintaining that friendship?
Yeah, so I think communication is really what holds people together, and I think continuing to communicate with each other even when it's hard is what hopefully keeps it strong. So for example, I have lost a little bit of contact with one of my friends, and so I couldn't understand. I've been reaching out to her and the texts back have been a little, just 1 or 2 words, and so I just couldn't quite understand. And so I just, tried calling her, couldn't get through. So I just sent her a different form of communication. I tried email, and I was just like, hey friend, happened. I really miss you. I hope you're doing okay. I miss you. I love you. What's going on? Is everything okay? And she wrote back, and she actually had a particular grievance. And so now I can hopefully be able to apologize for that and we can build back our friendship to what it was. And so it's just sort of like, without that kind of communication, it would have just died.
Yeah, it just would have stopped.
It's sort of like, when somebody is mad at the other person, if we're not communicating, then it's just going to continue to fester. So I do think communication is just the number one thing, followed closely with maybe being able just to sit down and have a drink with somebody and just,
not
just
having
connecting.
to do anything crazy.
Correct.
Just having and I think that's a common theme. So you're the second person in a row to mention communication as being the top thing, which big surprise. I think communication is key in any type of relationship you have, but especially when it comes to long distance friendships.
Right.
If you really care about that person. Oh God, the cat. But if you care about that friendship, then it's a two-way street. Like, both individuals have to be, pretty equally invested and put in the same amount of work, because if it's just you putting in that work and you're not getting anything back, then there's probably a pretty good chance that friendship is not gonna make it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, this particular friend could have not written back at all, or she could have written back and just been like, I'm fine. And I would have never have known, and so it's just like, instead she was entirely honest, and now we can go from there. This story is still evolving. I don't know where it's going to go, but at least we're being honest with one another.
You're talking about it.
And so I'm hopeful, mainly because she is such a close friend of mine, that distance, time, and drama aren't going to get the best of us.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, and to the other point is that, I think that's something that we did quite well when we were in California, was just sitting and being with each other. And we didn't have to go and do anything spectacular. We weren't going out every night to do anything. We were just hanging out with each other and decompressing. And I think that's what, at that time, that's what we needed. And we still do that quite a bit. Sometimes we'll just hang out at each other's places and just kind of chill and
absolutely
knit or drink and knit. In closing, I would like to first off thank Julie for joining me, sitting with me for 2.5 long, arduous hours.
You're welcome. Anytime. Any future tattoo, just give me a shout.
And also for recording this episode of the podcast, which I'm sure you will be hearing Julie on many, many future episodes, including probably travel and maybe indoor skydiving.
Let's do it.
We'll see. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to this episode. You're fucking awesome. Thanks for listening. And as always, to Julie, I want to say I enjoy, hanging out with you. We always have a good time. You're fucking awesome. And be sure to check out the Fun with Friends podcast on social media. So we have an Instagram page. Check out photos, videos, outtake. Again, find us on Instagram at Fun with Friends podcast. Also, you can email me at funfriendspodcast@gmail.com. Tell me what you think about the podcast. Ask me some questions. Tell me what's on your bucket list. Throw in some recommendations for activities and events that we should be checking out. And as always, thank you all for joining me on this latest adventure. Now get out there, do some shit, have some fun. Goodbye.